Hello and welcome to the developer update from the Tau team. You're here with me, Fola, and we have a new team member to introduce, and his name is Luis. I'll pass it over to him to introduce himself. Cheers.
Basically, I'm a scientist, but I've got backgrounds in linguistics, philosophy, cognitive science, artificial intelligence, computer mathematics, and I put everything together by means of working in formal languages, not so mathematically, but more from the viewpoint of knowledge representation and the abilities of formal languages to allow humans and machines to interact with the environment. Killian contacted me via LinkedIn with the proposition of maybe I would be interested in be a scientific writer for the project. And what appealed to me basically was the fact that you are, going to make people use a machine language in your platform. And that's what appeals to me, because I don't think that in the future, because there's all these hype about making robots understand human language, but that's ridiculous, It is not going to happen that way. Well, I mean, it's going to happen as it happens with Alexa, but Alexa doesn't understand a thing, that's the point. So basically, this was my first motivation into participating in the project. And obviously also my realization that I could contribute to it. Otherwise, I would have said, sorry, but no. So both these two aspects were like the first, biggest motivations. And obviously the interest in seeing how far you are going.
Thank you very much, Luis. Great to have you on board. Fantastic speaking to you privately. It's always a great time. I'll pass it over to Karim now for his overview of the team this month.
Okay, thank you, Fola, and welcome, Luis, to the team. I know that Luis has been contributing already through this week, to his first week through the academic panel meetings. Welcome. We're very excited to have you on board, Luis. On the development side, the development team has made substantial progress in this relatively short month of February. On the Agoras Live side, Andre has continued working on fixing multiple bugs as usual in the knowledge support areas, in calendar event management, also fixed the problem with user-defined tags, with the layout on both on Windows and on mobile. He also managed to get MetaMask to work on mobile platforms as well, which was not easy. Thank you, Andre. On the TML side, actually, Luca has been tasked by Ahmed to work on some theoretical research tasks. So Luca has been researching weak monadic second order logic and inductive structures. He's also been looking at stone duality and encoding of sequencing of Boolean algebra elements, all issues that we need to be resolved for TML. David joined our team in the middle of January, and he hit the ground running like everybody else. He finished the first assignment that Ahmed gave him with respect to the building his own BDD library, and he managed to finish that in good time. He also finished the second assignment, which had to do with loading of BDD of facts into TML. The old algorithm for loading facts was order n squared, so it was relatively inefficient. Whereas the new algorithm that David came up with and implemented is linear in the number of facts and their size. So it's quite optimal. So that's great. Next, he's going to be tackling TML program optimization in general. He's learning about program squaring and conjunctive query containment. And those are going to be the basis for TML program optimization. Good luck, David, and thank you for your contribution. Juan was on vacation for a couple of weeks in January because it's summertime in Argentina. but he's back and he's back in the thick of things, working on the binary universe transformation for TML, also on continuing where he left with the temporal logic being used for specifying sequences of programs in Tau. So that's he's doing both theoretical and practical programming as well. Tomasz has continued collaborating on the early parser with Umar. He updated the TML grammar definition file to make sure that all the features of TML that was implemented in C++ are now fully specified in BNF in the TML definition file. He's also implemented in TML some character built-ins that are similar to the C built-ins, like isDigits. And he's also continued refactoring the transformation of TML parse forest into raw program representation, and that's going to be a necessary step to start executing programs that are parsed from the early parser. I'm looking forward to that milestone. That would be an important milestone in the development of TML this year. He's also making sure that the early parser fully supports Unicode, just like TML does natively. And he's also fixed several improvements to the CLI, the command line interface for TML as well. That's it for the development team. Pass it back to you, Fola.
All right, thank you very much for your update there, Karim, or overview even. And now I'll pass it over to David for his update for the month.
Thank you, Fola. Hi, everyone. As Karim told, I've finished the BDD library, and I started the implementation of the optimization of fast ingestion. It's done. The new algorithm is linear in the output, so and the input, so it's essentially optimal. There is some additional memory use related to some sorting that we need in the middle, but essentially is fine with respect to the memory use. And now I'm working in the global optimization of TML programs. So I will use, as Karim said, CQC related stuff, and also program squaring, and that's what I'm working on. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your update there, David. I'll pass it over to Juan for his update for the month.
Thank you, Fola. Yes, as Karim pointed out, I was a couple of weeks offline, away from keyboard, but I'm already back to office, and what I have been mostly addressing is to complete integration of this binary universe transformation that Umar put together during last year. This has a deep impact on the structure of current implementation, and of course will have relevant performance gains both in memory and very likely in execution times. The built-ins, the arithmetic built-ins that we were also working at during last year are also related to this feature. And basically what we will get from this capability is to have a more efficient data representation. Besides our strong BDDs, we will make better usage of the bit width of each data element. So it's not by any means trivial aspect of the system that I'm reviewing and connecting stuff that we have been working in different efforts. So it has impact both on the type system and on how we execute BDD, over BDD operations with those data items. So yeah, that's roughly the main focus of my development efforts, and of course continued with the joining the academic session and with my revision of temporal logic material and bibliography to help the design of Tau in that aspect. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Juan, for your update for the month. I'll pass it over to Tomasz for his update.
Hello, everyone. In February, I've worked with Umar on the early parser and its integration into TML's codebase. Namely, I've updated our TML grammar definition file to support all current TML features. I've added support for correcture built-ins. I'm working on Unicode support, and I'm also working on a conversion of parsed forest of TML source code into TML's intermediate representation we call Euro program. And besides the parser, I've also added a possibility to load string from a file name provided as a command line option. And I've also added the command line option args, which separates command line arguments of TML interpret and arguments of the interpreted TML program, similarly to GDB, for example. So yeah, that's all for me for February.
Thank you very much, Tomasz. I'll pass it over to Andre for his update for the month.
Hello, everyone. This month I continued working on Agoras Live, running through the website and improving everything that is off on the website, especially improve the calendar stability, and calendar application is a very essential part of Agoras Live because there you assign all your meetings and track everything that's going on there. Also, tags were not working properly, and of course I fixed them. Mobile browsers layouts needed to be improved, and I did that. And MetaMask was not working on mobile, and it was a heavy task because it can only work inside MetaMask on mobile, and now it's finally working, and it's great. Also, we had a call with the testing team, and they said they will prepare their offer for us. So we're waiting for their offer, and we will move on with them along with the testing of Agoras Live. Thank you, everyone.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much, Andre. I'll pass it over to Luca for his update for the month.
Thank you, Fola. Hello, everyone. So this month started for me to continue studying a paper about an algorithm for model checking weak second-order logic formulas on inductive structures. And I presented the key ideas in a meeting and moved then on to continue studying the stone duality for Boolean algebras, which I've also started a while back. And I finally reached the point where I understand it in full. And so just to recap, stone duality was a correspondence between Boolean algebras and certain topological spaces, and that gives you the ability to study the algebraic theory from a topological perspective, basically. And this is important, for example, in the proof that the Boolean algebra's quantification of ideals is decidable, and it's exactly this and related results we're interested in, and trying to sequence Boolean algebra elements in order to get a notion of a sequencing, a notion of a program in the context of Boolean algebraic theories. So that's what I've been working on and will continue working on. Thank you, and I'll give it back to Fola.
All right, thank you very much, Luca. And I'll pass it over to Umar for his update for the month.
Hi, team. So this month, basically, we have worked on improving the parser from different perspectives. Obviously, the first had been to do a better code refactoring of how the parser gets integrated with the rest of the TML code base. Other perspectives have been to optimize the performance, especially around building forest during the parsing phase. So different attempts were made. As far as transform code refactoring of the integration between the TML code base and the parser, the code was cleaned out. Some of the unnecessary code was put in separate functions, and so that led to better readability and better design of how we call the parser within the transform grammar function. Some of the other things that were not needed when earlier parser is called were disabled. So sort of we have a better code design and a more clean code now. For performance, we were trying to improve the stack space usage by using references in terms of the exact copies of the variables, with the hope to see some better space usage. So different attempts were made in that perspective. Meanwhile, we discovered some bugs. For example, one of the bugs we had was on how the grammar is grammar object within the array is constructed from the grammar object within the TML code base. So those bugs were fixed, and some of the tests that included display of the graph, they were showing edges repeatedly. Same edges were repeatedly shown. So we used a hash table to identify old edges, previously seen edges. So those fixes were actually added. Since one of the goal is to improve the parser's performance, so we added some macros to measure the different to profile different functions within the code. So this involved some pre-processing phase, how we measure it, the forest building case, how we measure it, the transformation of the graph to the TML or to the parse grammar, or to the other formats. We had applied different macros to measure their performance individually. So there were two main performance initiatives that we tried to take in this month. One was trying to replace the ordered containers with unordered containers. The unordered containers normally have order one access time for most of their retrieval operations. So within the forest building code, we changed that, and that was committed. Changing it across the entire parsing object required some more work. We prepared a candidate check-in, and we looked into how different objects, if they can be stored within an unordered containers. So that required a refactoring of the TML, and we did have a first attempt, but we did not see much improvements in that perspective. So that will be an ongoing work. Also, one note was on the earlier goal of how to do binarization of the grammar to reduce the size of the parse forest graph. And there I suggested different options. One of the options we are exploring is on-the-fly binarization. Another idea was how to implement left-right optimization. So that was done initially on the unmodified grammar, but that did not reveal much gain, because no binarization was done, and so there were not much repeated exploitation of the patterns that were already there in the grammar. So this will also be another follow-up work in the coming month to see how we can achieve on-the-fly binarization. Then I had several discussions with the team on the Slack, trying to lay down where we need to invest in the future work, and also several discussions with Tomash, my peer developer, on how we should improve the integration between early and the rest of the TML code base. Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, Umar, thank you so much for your update. I will now pass it to Ahmed for his update for the month.
Well, this month's update is basically identical to the last month. Professor Franconi is still working on enhancing Boolean algebra with model operators, and his last update is that it's almost done. So let's hope it all goes well till the end. And I'm continuing the study of infinite system of Boolean equations. I have some advances, but it turns very complex. It looks like I will need to write a solver for the theory of Boolean algebra. We will need it in general, but also to advance this research because it becomes very complex. And that's all.
All right, thank you very much, Ahmed. And that wraps up the update from the development team. And yeah, please join the community channels, Telegram, like and subscribe our YouTube channel, Twitter, Reddit, all that good stuff. And again, be in with a chance to win some of our merch that I'm wearing right now. And we will see you on Telegram. Cheers. Thanks.